On the edge of a small town in southern Minnesota, a giant stands watch over the prairie. He is more than 50 feet tall, painted a cheerful leafy green, dressed in a tunic of leaves, and smiling out across the flat farm country as though he has always been here. Travelers on the great highway nearby catch sight of him from far off and turn into town just to stand at his feet. He is friendly, enormous, and utterly beloved, a monument to a small town and to the golden age of the American road trip. Welcome to the Jolly Green Giant. We are in Blue Earth, a small farming town in the far south of Minnesota, set among wide fields of corn and vegetables near the state's southern border. The land here is flat and open, a patchwork of prairie farmland stretching to the horizon under a huge sky. Running right past the edge of town is Interstate 90, the long coast-to-coast highway that carries travelers clear across the country. It is here, beside that great road, that the giant makes his home. Up close, the scale of him is wonderful. The statue rises about 55 feet into the air, a towering figure of a smiling man wrapped in a tunic of green leaves, one hand raised in a gentle greeting. He stands on a tall base above a small park, so large that a grown person barely reaches the top of his boots. Bright against the blue sky, he looks down with a broad and kindly grin, a good-natured giant keeping watch over the quiet streets and fields around him. The giant does not tower over a city, but over a modest little park at the edge of a small prairie town. Around his feet are trim lawns, a few trees, benches, and a wide open space where cars pull in and out all day. It is an ordinary, friendly sort of place, the kind of roadside stop found in small towns across America. What makes it extraordinary is simply the enormous green figure standing in the middle of it, turning a humble park into a landmark known far and wide. The giant's story is bound up with the great highway that runs beside him. Interstate 90 is one of the longest roads in the country, a ribbon of pavement stretching from the Atlantic coast in the east to the Pacific coast in the west. It crosses the northern plains in a long straight line, passing right along the southern edge of Blue Earth. For a small town far from any big city, that highway was a lifeline, a river of travelers flowing past the door, and a giant was raised to catch their eye. The figure himself comes from one of the most famous brands in America. For generations, cans and frozen packs of peas and corn have carried the image of a friendly green giant striding through a valley of vegetables. The brand became a household name across the country, its smiling giant known to families everywhere. And this was no accident of geography, for the company behind that giant grew up right here in the farm country of southern Minnesota, in the very fields that surround the town. The roots of it all reach back to a canning company founded in this part of Minnesota in the early years of the 20th century. In a countryside rich with vegetable farms, the business gathered the harvest of peas and sweet corn and sealed it into cans to be shipped far and wide. Season after season, the fields around these small towns fed a growing enterprise. From those modest early canneries on the prairie, a little local company would rise to become a giant known across the nation. Along the way, the company gave the world one of its most memorable characters. The Green Giant began as a simple figure on a label and grew, over the years, into a beloved advertising mascot, a towering, leaf-clad guardian of the valley whose deep, friendly presence came to stand for wholesome food from the heartland. Through print and radio and television, he became one of the best-known characters in American advertising. The statue in Blue Earth is that famous giant made real, lifted from the label and set upon the prairie. The great statue was raised around 1979, the idea of local boosters who wanted travelers on the new highway to stop in their town. A towering fiberglass giant was built, hauled to Blue Earth, and set upon a tall base in the little park, smiling and waving toward the road. From the day he went up, he was a sensation, a friendly colossus that turned a small farming town into a place people made a point of visiting, a giant born of local pride and a bit of clever welcome. His arrival came at a moment worth remembering. In those same years, the long coast-to-coast highway was finally being joined into one unbroken road across the country, and the last stretch of it was completed near Blue Earth. The giant went up partly to mark that great achievement, a celebration that here, on the southern Minnesota prairie, the final miles of a transcontinental highway had at last been linked. The friendly giant became a monument to the road as much as to the brand. The Jolly Green Giant belongs to a wonderful American tradition, the roadside giant. All across the country, small towns raised enormous, playful figures beside their highways, hoping to charm passing motorists into stopping. These larger-than-life landmarks became a beloved part of the open road, cheerful oddities that made a long drive an adventure. Among them all, the towering green figure of Blue Earth is one of the most famous and most fondly remembered, a classic piece of roadside Americana on the prairie. And stop they do. Day after day, cars pull off the great highway and into the little park so that travelers can stand at the giant's feet and look up in wonder. He is built with a base and steps so that visitors can pose beneath him and capture the moment, dwarfed by his enormous green boots. For countless families crossing the country, a photograph with the giant has become a cherished memory of the road, a small joyful ritual in the middle of a long journey. For Blue Earth, the giant is a point of deep local pride. He put this small prairie town on the map, giving it a landmark known far beyond the county line. The community has embraced him fully, celebrating the giant and the brand that grew from its fields with a small museum and yearly festivities. In a quiet corner of farm country, far from the big cities, the towering green figure is a source of identity and delight, a giant the whole town has taken to heart. The giant is also a monument to a certain golden age, the great era of the American road trip. In the years when new interstate highways first stitched the country together, families set out to cross the continent by car, and the journey itself became the adventure. Roadside giants, diners, and scenic stops marked the way and made the miles memorable. The jolly green giant stands as a joyful survivor of that age, still smiling beside the highway, still welcoming travelers off the open road. And that, in the end, is what makes him so unforgettable. He is a friendly giant of the prairie, a smiling green figure watching over the fields and the highway from his little town. He carries the story of a brand born in this soil, of farmers and canneries, of a great road finished nearby, and of a small community's pride and welcome. Standing tall against the wide Minnesota sky, he greets every traveler with the same broad, cheerful grin, a beloved giant of the open land. A giant on the prairie, a road across a nation, and a small town that welcomed the world. Thank you for watching. Follow for more interesting people, places, and things we cover on the channel.